he's done another U-turn. But just who the hell am I on about? The political ballet dancer himself, Sir Keir Starmer. You can just imagine him in a tutu, can't you, doing all those twirls. This time he's U-turned, according to this article, on a pledge to spend £28 billion on green projects, which, let's face it, is just going to be an absolute nightmare for all us motorists out there, isn't it? Especially if, due to this pledge, more and more councils would no doubt be given incentives to make sure us motorists will no doubt be forced to pay a charge, similar to you, Les, when we enter that particular council's borough. You can just imagine that, can't you? You can see it from way off. But anyway, the article says that the Labour boss is officially abandoning the eye-watering figure following relentless Tory attacks on how the party will pay from it without hiking taxes, and in general that does seem to be how Labour do pay for things, doesn't it? So it's no surprise why they would presumably do this time, eh? It comes apparently after weeks of chaos over the plan since the Sun first revealed the intention to drop the £28 billion figure last month. And the confusion saw Sir Keir Starmer, he said Kermit the Frog then, commit to the pledge just this week after Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves refused 10 times to do the same, sparking speculation of a split. And only yesterday, apparently, Labour ministers and spokespeople insisted the Green Prosperity Plan remained their policy. But after all that, of course, this afternoon Sir Keir and Miss Reeves will together junk the £28 billion figure in a bid to draw a line under the carnage. Well, even though they are getting rid of this pledge, I cannot see Labour dropping any green eco pledges at all. I mean, you got the London Mayor, haven't you, Sadiq Khan, pushing out ULEZ to more and more boroughs. But at the end of the day, in the middle of a cost of living crisis, the last thing the public needs is more and more taxes, isn't it? No matter how much of their green agenda they want to allocate it to. And yes, of course, you know, while they do tend to say it's very nice to do things for the environment, we don't want to ram down our face, especially, of course, if we have to pay through the nose for it with tax rises or whatever else. I mean, I don't know about you, but I personally think cutting the 5% VAT rate on our electric bills would be quite a nice saving for us people. But of course, I can't see that happening because, from what I'm aware, that is a green tax, isn't it? An eco-fuel tax or whatever you want to call it. Environmental tax or something like that. It even says here, look, the mission to reach clean power by 2030 will remain. So it doesn't mean that this will still happen, but they're just, I don't know, moving the goalposts or applying sleight of hand or whatever you want to call it to roll it out more slowly so we, I guess, won't notice, and that, I'm sure, would be their plan. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm no Mystic Meg, but I just think what we could actually do with that £28 billion. I mean, for starters, we could surely clear the fiscal drag that we're all paying and increase the tax allowance, therefore we're not paying as much tax on our wages. I mean, that surely would be much better than paying for something on their green agenda, which I'm guessing a lot of people may not want to do. Because let's face it, remember, us in the world, we're a small country, aren't we? So even if we had everything green, how much difference is that going to make to the planet as a whole? Not much, I'm guessing. But of course, the Tories, as you'd expect, have jumped on this. Today, Tory MPs accused the party leader of another flip-flop, which has become a regular attack line. Well, that's because he keeps doing them, isn't it? It's just absolutely ridiculous. And I'm worried that if he then becomes Prime Minister, which unfortunately it looks like quite likely to happen, what he's going to flip-flop about once he's in. I mean, is he going to say, yes, don't worry, Brexit will be fine, and then attempt to get us even more closer to the EU than what we are at the minute? I mean, unfortunately, I think that's a dead cert if he becomes Prime Minister, but hopefully I am wrong, although something tells me I'm not. Laura Trott, Chief Secretary to the Treasury, said, "This is a serious moment which confirms Labour have no plan for the UK, creating uncertainty for business and our economy. And on the day that Labour are finishing their manifesto, Sir Keir Starmer is torpedoing what he has claimed is a central economic policy purely for short-term campaigning reasons. Even also, Labour MPs have put the boot in on the U-turn, with Barry Gardiner calling it economically illiterate." Although, to be honest, I do think it's funny that even Labour MPs are putting the boot in on this, because surely, if anything, that presumably means that they don't actually want him to be Prime Minister himself. Although, admittedly, that is quite a long shot. Apparently, a senior source said, "We are going to drop that figure, £28 billion, altogether. We'll keep the promise to turn Britain into a clean energy superpower, but that £28 billion has just become an albatross around our neck." Well, yeah, there is loads of stuff that we can actually do with that, isn't there? Rather than, of course, just flush it down the toilet, in my opinion. Which, let's face it, this will more than likely do. Especially, of course, if he caves in to all the eco-idiots out there with their protests, he will demand this, that and whatever else.